You want to do jazz and D? I can play chords.
Jazz and D.
Yeah.
I don't know
What does that even mean?
What does that mean? But I don't know.
2-5-1 in the key of D.
Okay, you guys can translate that.
2-5-1.
Make sure you're on the same page before you start doing stuff. Okay, so when you say D, do you mean that that's the starting chord, or is that the key?
If it's in the key of D and it's a 2-5-1, then I guess D would be the 1,
So this
but
is
the
what?
starting chord would be the 2.
Correct.
It's a pretty popular jazz.
Oh yeah, it is.
Little 2-5-1. Hey, Bill. What's going on with you?
Not much. Going to the mainland again, but
Oh, where are you going?
Atlanta.
Do you have family there or just for
I
just
do,
for fun?
yeah,
Oh,
and then
nice.
over to Texas for business.
Oh, okay. So you're gonna just go from Atlanta
Yeah.
to Texas?
Write it all off.
Yeah, right.
So wait, so you're just doing D minor, E minor,
Oh, I'm doing
A?
yeah, E minor,
A7, or
Yep.
something like that, right?
E7, yeah,
And D, maybe D major.
D major 7.
Okay.
But I'm just using what are they called? Oh, where you don't play the full chord.
Shell voice.
Shell voicings, which omits the 5th. That's it. That's it.
Oftentimes that's what it does, yeah. Try to catch the groove, Bill. 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3. chord progression we're playing is called a 2-5-1. So we're playing E minor to A to D major. So E minor, A major, D major. So let's do 4 loops each, and then we'll pass the baton. That was loop 1 for Bill, loop 2 for Bill. So halfway point, here's loop 3. Final loop for Bill coming up. So we'll go counterclockwise. We'll have Sean play next. So Sean's on lead. So halfway point. Last one. Okay, Kevin's up. One time through Kevin, second time. So Sean, what you can do is work on arpeggios. So play E minor, A major, D major. Again, E minor, A major, D major. Yeah, key of D is a 2-5-1. My turn to solo. Coach the other guys. There's various things that you can do in this like boring groove. You can focus on playing just a backbeat. So that'll be something like this. Sean, you're up.
tune A?
In tune A?
In tune.
I think my A's in tune.
So not bad, not bad. That was 15 minutes of jamming, so that's called passing the baton. Nothing too crazy. But in that, it gets stale on the rhythm section, almost never on the melody side, because you can just play all the kinds of different random things, and you're kind of haphazard. But as far as the chord progression is concerned, if we're stuck to a 2-5-1, we have to confine to that harmony, and so the creativity comes from being in an ensemble. So when it was just you and Kevin, Bill and Kevin, if I didn't play bass, the best thing for somebody on guitar to do would be to go. Which is kind of what I was coaching you to do. So that's already too much information, but that works. You kind of want to keep that syncopation rhythm, which is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. So that's what you want to do on the bass, and then. So you got too much, which sounds great, but try to only do this. With the chord, I can't do it on a bass, but you're going do shack do shack do shack do shack do shack. See, and it's actually hard because you guys are used to overplaying. So what I'm trying to teach you is how to, in a boring thing, potentially you're going to be playing this loop 4, 8, 12 times, 16 times, because there's 4 of us. That's how you can challenge yourself. Now, what you want to do while listening to everybody else is try to figure out what they're doing. So I'm trying to very conservatively stay out of your guys' way and only play this. And so you'll hear me strategically stop playing on the backbeat. That creates a vacuum for you guys to exist. So in an ensemble setting, it's kind of actually overkill if you guys play with me on the downbeat. But what's tasteful is if you guys come in on the backbeat. So boom, shah. Now if you're listening to everybody else, if Kevin's overplaying by default, it's not a bad thing. Overplaying is not a bad thing. I'm just saying that it's compared to conservative playing. You were kind of doing do like something else. Yeah, he's adding a little bit more do. Now I can go, oh cool, I like that, and then I can go. So now I'm adding to what he's giving me. Now that could be messy, or I can choose to contrast that by just doing the bare minimum, which is just that syncopation, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. And if I can't nail that rhythm, or if it's inconsistent, then I'm gonna keep stripping it down. So what's kind of fun is if it's almost like to me, it's like reminds me of playing soccer, and you just kind of read each other's lines, and also read what they're telegraphing to you. So if Kevin's telegraphing this specific riff, you can either copy it exactly note for note, or do something to kind of contrast it. So, for example, you keep playing what you're playing, but Bill, try to play only the backbeat. So that would be this. Second backbeat. Pack. So you're trying to replicate a drum kit without a drum kit. Now listen to the play between these. This is cool. Now the listener who doesn't know anything about music is going to be already a lot more entertained by this rather than the flexing of overplaying on top of each other. So the same can go to you, Sean, is you can play. A violin player is famous for just sustaining notes. So I don't have orchestration background, but my default thing, and when I think of a violin, is just volume swell. So you just play, root note E. So you go E, A, E, 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 mean, yeah, that's your go-to, right? That's what strings do. But if that starts getting stale, consider playing chord tones of the same thing. So this is where you have to do gymnastics and go, okay, what's the minor third of E, because it's an E minor.
G.
So you play a G, whatever that is. And these are the thirds of all the chords. And same thing with the fifths.
So you play the thirds, not the fifths? Or just any of them? Right?
Any of them.
Oh, okay.
That's up to you. And you can choose to interchange them. In fact, the best thing to do as a violin player is to see what note is the closest to the current note that you're playing that belongs to the next chord. That is cool. So that might end up being the root note, it might end up being the third, it might end up being the fifth. Now that's a lot of computation, especially if you don't, again, I don't think in letters, I think in shapes and intervals, so, but what's that?
I have a question.
Yeah.
Would it make sense, like, kind of going off that for guitar, like, because I was, I think we're mostly hitting the same chords in the same areas. Would it make sense to hit chords in different areas, or would that sound too dissonant and weird?
It definitely wouldn't sound dissonant, but you have to keep in mind, are you invading whoever's soloing?
Right.
And generally
Oh, right.
solos are kind of higher sections. Now, you can get away with that depending on how strategic you are. So a very basic setting was to have one player just play the backbeat. But what if you play only the second backbeat? What does that mean? That means this. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3. And the more you become aware of this inner groove, you'll start to hear that that's what percussion players do. They'll hit like the little bell on the 4, or maybe every other 4. But there's some sort of rhythmic pattern, but it's not overkill. So their job is to put little repetition things in the same place. And we're only dealing with easy numbers right now, a simple syncopation and downbeats and backbeats. But you can also do it off of an E, an Just the trick is trying to stay consistent and stay out of everybody else's way. So when you first are doing it's slightly busy compared to like just simple, and that's fine, but you could get away with going like this. That's maybe something I should do on bass.
Right.
Now I can play over the top of you guys and go. And depending on the context, that might be cool, but if I do that the whole time, it's not satisfying the groove. So whenever you're doing a chord progression, which is anytime you're not soloing, which is going to be 90% of the time you're playing, if you're by yourself, you can overplay all you want. If you're playing along to a recording, you can be rhythmically reckless because the recording, you can always go back to it. And that's a thing I've noticed with a lot of players is those who only play along to recordings, their sense of ensemble setting like this is really weak. So it's easy for them to kind of drift away and lose time. So the solution to that is play more conservatively and play with your team. And again, I keep using sports as an analogy, but if you have one quarterback, you don't need two quarterbacks. Play another position. Even if you want to play quarterback, play another position. And all that means is play a different moment in time. So bass typically takes the most important role, but if you don't have a bass player, somebody needs to be providing that. And so when we first were playing, I was having you do basically the one-man show, which is you play the root note, and that's kind of what Kevin was doing by default too, but the only trouble was you were going straight for chord extensions and shell voicings. So when you're by yourself, that's not a good idea. But when you're in an ensemble, that's a great idea, because now you're only going for the special notes rather than stepping on everybody else's toes.
Right.
Shell voicings what now?
Shell voicings are things like the third.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so not the root note and not the fifth. We're playing in a jazz setting right now, so there's actually a lot of shell voicings. You can do the 9, you can do the 7, you can do the third, all this, that, and the other thing. But just try to keep it real simple. My whole point with what I'm trying to unpack right now is instead of worrying about what notes to play, worry more about what rhythms to play. That's way more tasty than the actual notes. Then once you kind of understand how to be consistent with a groove and not let that timing cause you to lose timing, then you can worry about more bells and whistles. This is just my opinion, okay? So great job though. That was just a natural, organic jam. But again, the thing I try to instill in everybody, because I used to have a terrible attitude about this, and so maybe I'm overcompensating. But it's like when I played simple stuff when I was younger, I used to be, this is so boring, this is so easy. But I didn't look at it with this new lens, which is now what I always try to, you know, we could be looping this for another 40 minutes, and if we keep playing the same thing, it gets kind of boring. So what's kind of fun is after you solo, maybe try to pick a different thing that you accentuate. And if you're playing with a bass player, let the bass player, you know, in these kinds of settings, just let them carry the downbeat, and then you fill in everything else in between, whether, you know, whatever that may be. Or if you do play with the bass player, make sure it's matching up with what the bass player is doing, or adding something just a little more to what I'm doing, which was that little extra like E or the or whatever. But again, these are all things that you were doing by default. You weren't thinking about it, you just did it. But as the loops keep going, that does get stale, so try to think of ways to challenge yourself. And oddly enough, stripping it down to something easier, like playing the backbeat only, it's actually kind of hard, right? So these are all things that you can kind of think about once like the novelty of whatever jam we're doing kind of wears off. And you can do this in a blues progression, you can do this in anything. So in some ways, I'm kind of prepping the three of you, so if anytime we're playing with, you know, not as high level people, whatever, we might end up playing the same Stand By Me lick for, you know, 5 hours or whatever it is. But you can also think about that as like, oh, I can just play the backbeat or the second backbeat or only the first backbeat, or I can play the second downbeat only, or switch it up and maybe do this syncopation thing. Like I mean, the options are limitless. And you almost want to think about, if there's 4 beats in a measure and then there's 4 16th notes, you could technically have like a bunch of, you want a chair? Yeah, sorry, too much lecturing.
No.
But is this all making sense? Is this all good? Okay, let's move on. So I think I've ad nauseum, which is a fault of mine.
All good.
Speaking of timing, let's work on some rudiments real quick. For a little bit. So that's cool though, that we just kind of organically fell into that. Right, that's only backbeat. Now you can also do only upbeats or only the second upbeat. Like these are all different things you can do. If you did every single upbeat, you would be playing a reggae against it. So like. One and two and three and four and. See, it's tough, but you could do that if you could pull it off. Then you're practicing upbeats, and that can be interesting. Or maybe not upbeats all the way through, but maybe like 2 upbeats.
The jazz and reggae. Oh, okay.
That's interesting. Yeah. See, so we gotta make sure we know where the downbeat is. But even such a simple rhythm, and that's interesting actually. Yeah. But if you did only upbeats, that would be overkill. It would be messy. Other people would be like, "You suck," kind of a thing, right? It's just overdone. So think about it like a spice. A little bit of it, and again, keep in mind sometimes we're gonna have like 5 guitarists in here, and everybody's gonna be going, and there's nothing wrong with that. But if they're doing that, definitely don't do that. Do something to complement that. That leaves the upbeats wide open because they're only playing downbeats. Or a lot of times when I have beginners, I just have them play violin parts. Just the chord. Because they're still navigating the chord changes, right? So then that leaves a giant space for you to kind of work on other rhythms. Okay. I guess we'll pick on E. So we'll do some quarter notes, 8th notes, 16th notes, 8th notes, quarter notes, triplets. Okay? 1, 1, 2, 3, E. Yeah. 2, 3. Here's eights. 16. Eights. Quarters. Triple it, triple it, triple it, triple it. Quarters. Good. Challenge, which is you take out the metronome and bring it back in to see if you deviated, and we did pretty good. Now the longer you can go without relying on the metronome, and then it's kind of like John like hitting a jump and then like somehow landing it. It's like what? It's
snowboarding.
It's surfing.
Surfing.
But it's like somehow you leave the train track, like you're a train that just comes off the track, but you somehow land perfectly right back in it. And the longer you can go without the timing fluctuating, that's a really good indicator that you got. But the wild thing is, this is only at 100 beats per minute. It's a different game at slower tempos, actually. Yeah, so like 90 is like significantly harder. 60 is like almost near impossible. So, but the secret is your body. Your body is what's going to keep you in time. And maybe even singing it in your head. Bang, 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 bang. But to me, it's the pulse of your body that's really going to help you. So that's some higher level stuff. I don't have a drummer today, so we're not really going to work with groove. Ear game's kind of meh. Same chord progression song, kind of meh. Same chord progression jam, kind of meh. Rhythm sidemen's kind of fun, but given the ingredients that I have, I think both you, Kevin, and Bill, I'm kind of starting, you guys are kind of in the same little spot, so this is cool. What I want to try and attempt to do today is responding to chord progressions. And this is going to be a little bit easier because I'm playing bass. Not that it's because I'm playing bass, but I can kind of direct you guys with my bass movements. So, we're going to pick a key signature, something really easy for us. I want to say the key of C is going to be the easiest for all three parties. And what I want us to kind of do is set some general rules. So I'll put a drum beat on again. Kind of like that jazz idea. Put a drum beat on again, and we're going to just come up with a loop. Alright, so if we're in the key of C, we could start on the chord C major. We could start on the chord A minor. If we started on D minor. If we did, we're starting on a 2, right? And that's why it's called a 2-5-1. If we started on a 3, we would be starting on a 3, 4, 5. We can start on any of those chords. But we're going to make things real simple for us for now. I'm just going to start on C, and that's going to put us in Ionian. Okay? Now, I'm going to stick to a couple very similar chord progressions. I'm not going to get too crazy. So if anytime we're in C Ionian, I'm going to play one measure of C, one measure of F, one measure of G, one measure of C. And then we loop it. C, F, which is the 4, 5, which is G, and C. Still not finished with the loop. Now is the loop. Okay? So that's going to be my Ionian riff, my Ionian progression.
Say that again. C, F, E, G?
Yep. 1, 4, 5, C, F, G.
C, F, G.
Yep. And if we somehow land on Aeolian,
That's 6C at the end, right?
yeah, so double C. So C at the beginning, C at the end. It's kind of like Stand By Me, kind of like What's Up.
Yeah.
So that does confuse people, but it's just going to make things easier, okay? Now, the opposite version of that chord progression would be an Aeolian progression, which is 6. So we'd start on 6, which is A minor, and we'll go down to D minor, which is your 2, and then 3, which is E minor, and then back to 6. But we still haven't looped. Now we've looped. So that's 6, 2, 3, 6, and then loop. Okay? So that's the Aeolian progression. They're using the L's. Real nice, real easy. And you'll hear me play bass doing it, so it'll be easy to kind of tell when you're right or wrong. Couple other ones we need to know. If we play, if we start on 3, Phrygian, E minor. The Phrygian progression is going to be 3 to 4. Yep, and that's it. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think I'm going to do 4 loops for everything just because. And then at that point, I'll change to a different center. Essentially changing tonic, essentially changing key. So that's Phrygian. If we land on 3, expect 4 coming next. 3, 4. That's the Phrygian chord progression. If we land on 4, that's a bad example after that, but if we land on 4, expect to see 5 coming right after it, which is F to G. It's your dreams progression. Now here you go again, you say 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3. There you go. So anytime we start a Lydian progression, it's going to be F to G, F to G. Okay. If we happen to start on D minor, a 2 progression, we're going to do 2 to 5, which is G. 2 to G. And you can go lower, you don't have to go higher. G is a lot more convenient. Yeah.
2 to G.
Yeah, 2 which is D, G which is 5. 2 to 5. So that's a Dorian progression. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And we might, maybe we'll double up the chord. You'll listen to me. So 2, 5, and I'll bark it out over the thing. And the only remaining one is Mixolydian, which would be G, which is 5, to 4, which is F, which is the opposite of dreams. So a lot of them are kind of interrelated. Okay, a lot to remember. I know, but I'll bark us through it. So just for starters, Sean, I'm gonna have you just note diary over the top in the key of C. Just improvise in the key of C. We're going to be changing modes. Take my direction, please. And
Am I supposed to track the mode or?
nah, just play around. And if you can, then great. But if not, don't worry about
I
it.
don't think I can.
Yeah, this is to get the accompaniment ready to rumble with this. This is such a cool skill when you got other people being able to do it. Okay, so we're going to start with that simple C Ionian progression, which was C F G C. Okay. That's
1451 is Ionian.
what?
1451 is Ionian. CFG.
Yeah, for this particular example. It doesn't always have to be that, but just for this example. 1, 2, here we go. 4 loops of. This is the top of the loop. Okay, I'm going to switch to Lydian, so we're going to go to F, G. Okay, we're going to repeat this 4 times. So this is the halfway point. Okay, I'm gonna go to Aeolian, which is A minor. It's your 6. Here we go. Okay, and then we're gonna go 2 straight down. 3 right over next door. Back to 6. So here's the beginning of the loop. Okay, I'm gonna go to 5, Mixolydian, which is G. To 4 is coming up. This is the perfect Mixolydian progression. Okay, going to Dorian, which is D minor, D minor. Then G. Halfway. Okay, this is the last loop. Okay, you're gonna go to Phrygian, which is E minor to F, which is your 4. Can you hear how his soloing is changing color? It's not so much with what he's playing, but it's mostly because of the chords that we're giving it. Last one. Okay, Ionian 1. 4. 5. Back to 1. Still haven't looped. Now is the loop. Okay, good. So let's pause and unpack that for a little bit. So with direction, you guys were able to kind of move around with it. Now you might be really concentrating on like the commands that you're going to be given, but we're going to do that again, and I'm going to do it the same exact order as best as I can remember. But I really want you paying attention to how the mood changes when that loop comes around and we don't give the same loop again. We switch to a new chord as the home. And this is a way as a jam to be able to get through these different flavors. It's not just random chords any random spot. Wait for the loop to finish and then introduce the new home. And that's what I was waiting for. We would complete the loop. We would do it at least twice, because in music, you have to repeat things to legitimize it. So a lot of times if you loop things twice or 4 times, it's kind of your window. After you loop twice, it's kind of like, oh, put your application in if you want a new job or something. Oh, you didn't? You're stuck at this job for another 2 years. Oh, you didn't do it again? You're stuck at this job for another 2 years. So generally, packs of 2 are generally what you find in songs. I'm sure you've encountered this, whether you know it or not. So, and it's generally the bass player who's going to determine what mode you're in, because that's the fundamental note. If you play something not what I'm playing, generally that means you're wrong and I'm not, even if I'm wrong, because of how important all the music stacks on the fundamental bass frequency. When you don't have a bass player, then whoever has the lowest available pitch, which guitar is a pretty low instrument, and you can kind of split that, that's your fundamental note, whatever it is. We'll try it again, and what I'm hoping we can do before today is over is, rather than telling you what we're playing it, I'm just going to play, and then it's your job to try and figure out what it is. Okay? You can look at my instrument if you need, it's no big deal, but try to rely on the feeling of what it is. Okay? If you're drowning, I'll bail you out. We got 4 loops of each progression, except Aeolian and Ionian. It's kind of long and boring, so I think I'll only do 2 loops for those ones. Okay, so we'll just have Sean kind of play over the top for a little bit. We'll see how it goes. If it goes well, then we're going to exchange. And another thing that goes well is, remember that jazz jam we did? Well, instead of just playing the one chord once, maybe play only the backbeat. Maybe play a reggae. It's all these different things that you can do in addition to these new chord progressions, right? So you kind of want to have these quintessential modal chord progressions at the ready. So again, very simple. Ionian is 1-4-5. Aeolian is the same thing, just minor. 1-4-5. It's the same thing, just lowercase 1, lowercase 4, lowercase 5. But in my system, we call it 6, 2, and 3. Same thing, just the opposite. The ones that are tricky are Dorian. Dorian is 2 to 5. Now that's not the only Dorian progression, but that's the one that we're going to work with. 2, 5. And then the reason why I'm using numbers is because if we're in a different key signature, it's the same numbers. Sucks to be you. Because your letters have to change completely, but if you use the intervals, it's all good. So 2-5 for Dorian, and Phrygian is 3-4. Lydian and Mixolydian are the same, just opposite. Lydian's 4-5, Mixolydian's 5-4. So that's kind of easy to remember in my opinion.
Lydian 4-5, Mixolydian 5-4?
Yeah. So FG or GF. Yeah. And so a lot to kind of keep track of, but I think we can do fine. Let's try it again. And yeah, we'll just try it again. This time, really listen to the flavors change when we embark on a new home. That's what I want you listening to. And I want to make sure that we're timed right. Okay, C. F. Still have it looped. Here's a loop. Nice. It's time for the drum sound. Okay, we're gonna go Aeolian. D minor, E minor, back to A minor. That's home. Loop. No, loop. Yeah, don't get caught on that. Lydian, 4, which is F. So we'll loop this 4 times. Really listen to how the flavors changed. Okay, Phrygian's coming up next. E minor, which is 3. Then F, which is your 4, right? 3 and 4 side by side. That's what it's Phrygian, Phrygian. It's that half step relationship. Okay, we're gonna go Dorian, D minor, which is your 2. 5, which is G. Kind of adventurous. Dorian's pretty cool. It's like Lord of the Rings or something. Rohan. Now this is going to be a really weak one. Mixolydian. Four, 5. 5. Mixolydian 5 is G, F. Okay, and then back to Ionian. Okay. So again, the whole point there is not to get too gummed up by the different changes, but to really listen to it all. And so what I'm trying to train you guys on is how to be able to stay on your feet. And this helps with learning songs, and it helps with playing with other people. So now we're going to jump off the deep end. We'll probably drown, and that's okay. So now we're going to start in Ionian, but I'm going to change the progression at the same amount of times, but I'm not going to tell you when I'm playing. So you can either just try to trust your instincts, trust your ear, but if you're drowning by like the 2nd or 3rd loop, go ahead and look. I'll also go, it happens to be Dorian, but I want you guys to actually like give it a chance to try and go. And here's the thing, you don't need to play right away. Remember, you can come in on the 2nd backbeat. You can come in on the last backbeat. Let the bass lead. See, this is a secret. So if you develop a groove where you only play the backbeat, you have 1 beat to respond. That's better than no beats. I'm not kidding, it's better than no beats. Or you can just sit out for the whole first loop, and I think that's 2, or I think that's 4. As long as you come back in on time, then it's cool. And better yet, if you do that same thing, so let's say for example, you know, we've established something, and then let's say I go to Phrygian, but you don't know what it is. Then you go, okay, E minor. That's all you play. Brang. That works. Brang. You're still complementing the chord progression, and you're letting whoever knows the song better, in this case me, because I'm the one, improvising it. And that's how you can improvise with other people. Let the bass, whoever is playing the downbeat, let them lead. It's like a dance. Their lead, and if you don't already know what they're playing, then you have to let them establish it, and then hopefully you can complement it. Want to give it a whirl?
Sure.
We're gonna get cooked, guaranteed.
I guess there. No idea what's going on.
So we're gonna
Yeah.
start an ione?
Yeah, I'll make it easy for us.
Same key?
Yeah.
Okay.
2, 3, 4. Up.
Oh, also, what's the bass tune? Fourths?
Yeah.
Now we can cheat a little bit.
3. Okay. So the first number is a 2. 2, 3, 4. Good, Bill. Dorian, 2. D minor. Last one. So I'll make it easier. I'm either going to go to Ionian or Aeolian after every exotic mode. Okay? So you have a choice of either two things. That should make it a bit easier. So one more loop of this. See that? Phrygian, E minor, F. So I'm either going to do Aeolian or Ionian after this. One more loop. Good. Uh-oh, Bill, you're off by one. Okay, exotic mode coming up. And again, it's okay to look if you need to. I'm in major territory. You're currently in, there you go. G, Mixolydian, then F. Okay, either Ionian or whatever. You see that? It's kind of getting easier to predict. And really feel how the emotion changes. Don't go too soon to the next chord. Lydian. Lydian is 4. Then you're gonna go to 5. So either Ionian or Aeolian after this. And a good bass player will lead you there. And that's what I did with that fill. Okay, let's see if I can lead you this way. Dorian, 2. So I gave you a leading tone like this. Again, this note's out of key, but listen. Do you hear how it's pulling you to that 2? pretty close, Kevin. Then you gotta go up to 4, so it's just F, E minor. Remember, Phrygian has that half step. Sorry, I didn't lead you guys very well. There you go. Good recovery. See how the backbeat's really working? Don't jump to the next chord. Tonic. Alright, and now we got this. Now if I want to make it more obvious, excellent. G. G, 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 F. Okay, either Ionian or Aeolian coming up. This is a Dorian progression, 2, which is D minor, and then 5, which is G. Think of jazz, 2-5, 2-5. That's okay. Two, 3, Phrygian, Aeolian. Nice. You guys did that really well. Did you hear the feeling change and then that shit told you, oh, Phrygian. Intense. After that intensity, Ionian's a great way to finish it. It's almost like completely forget. Lydian. 4, 5, 4, 5. Good. Guys, that went a lot better than I expected, to be honest. Good job. So, I know this is it's heavy lifting, but you can see why I've been trying to prep you guys for this kind of thing, because now you can process the sound of what you're hearing, translate that to not only a feeling, but also anatomy on the neck. And that's why we use the L shapes, because those L shapes, it's the same L's the whole time. You're just using different combinations of them. And they translate to different keys. That's what's so useful about it. But the more that you can go, that's that feeling of Dorian, or that's that feeling of Phrygian, or whatever, the more that you can hear it and feel it, the easier it all becomes. And so this is one of the best ways to kind of just explore that. Just have somebody improvise over the top, you change the chords. Now in this way, you're like a haphazard vessel between me and Sean, actually. Because I'm playing that first downbeat, and you can see why the backbeat was pretty strategic, right? Gave you some time to process it. And yeah, I made some mistakes. No big deal. What I want to do now is something similar. I'm going to empower Kevin or Bill to be the chord progression leader. Okay? And I'll follow you guys. I'll play the backbeat. And then whoever's the other chord player, maybe just play something at some point in that chord progression. That makes sense. So maybe play the backbeat with me or the second downbeat. Doesn't need to be anything crazy. Just wherever you come in, make sure that that's where you come in consistently, if you remember. So it could be the second backbeat. I mean, I don't know. Gives you a lot of time to process. So, Kevin, I'm going to have you try first. And we can do the same thing. We can start in Ionian, do 2 loops of Ionian, and then just go to some other chord that belongs to the key of C. And that's what's cool about this is that you can go, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm just going to go over here. And that works. But the follow-up chord is where you're really going to get screwed, is if you don't know what the follow-up chord is. That's why it's important to know the quintessential chord progressions. Lydian, 4 to 5. So if you end up on F, G is coming next. Whiteboard's back there if you need.
Can we? Ass
Can I write on this?
Yeah, yeah.
What is
Ass
that?
Radish is the winner.
Ask Radish. You heard it here first.
Sorry, I'm just not so good with remembering the
Oh,
Yeah.
the
I'm bad at it.
progressions.
I'll
So the
remember.
good thing is the Ionian and the Aeolian ones are just the L. It's just the L. Hopefully,
So Ionian.
yeah, I would say 1, 4, 5, 1.
I don't even know if that's what's Ionian.
Yeah, it just
Yeah,
doesn't matter.
No, you're right.
1.
1, 4, 5,
IV.
1.
Did we do a 5 again? Oh,
IV.
This is
Yep.
1, 4,
B.
5,
I.
1.
Yeah, Aeolian would be 6, 2, 3, 6, which is the equivalent of a 1, 4, 5, just minor.
6,
6, 2, 3, 6, which is the equivalent of a 1, 4, 5, just as minors.
2, 3, 6.
Okay, now the fun ones. The major ones are kind of easy. They're just switches of each other. So Lydian is 4 to 5. 4 to 5, 4 to 5. Mixolydian is 5 to 4, 5 to 4.
4 to 5.
5 to 4, 5 to 4. And what's nice about the names is that it at least tells you where you got to start.
Okay.
You know, Aeolian is 6, Lydian is 4, Mixolydian is 5. So at least tells you where to start. There's one more, there's 2 more actually. Dorian. Dorian is your jazz progression, 2, 5. Just delete the 1. 2, 5, 2, 5. Dorian is 2, 5. And then Phrygian,
Oh, wait.
Phrygian's 3, 4, 3, 4.
So we were that jazz was actually Ionian because
Yes.
we had the
Yeah, and we played it twice
even
as
though we're
long.
starting on 2.
Yeah.
What was it
Yeah, we,
called?
Phrygian?
Phrygian. I don't know how to spell that.
Just
so
put
it's like
fridge. Yeah.
Yeah.
3, 4.
3, 4.
Because that's the relationship of Phrygian, is that half-step sound. So you're playing it by chord progression, it really exudes it. So not only can the soloist really play it, the chords are also selling it too. So it's a joint effort. If your harmony is supporting the whatever flavor you're in, and the soloist knows how to really dig into those flavors, it takes the playing to like the next level. Good luck, Kevin. Just have fun with it.
Gonna throw you a quick writing, a little bit of a minor dong here.
Did you
Capital
say a
is
minor dong?
Minor dong, yep. Capital is major, lowercase is minor.
Yes.
So I see minor 6, major 2, major
Dorian
3.
needs to be lowercase 2 and Phrygian needs to be
Yeah.
lowercase 3.
It's okay though.
You know,
Lashings.
I was just writing that just to get it out
Just
there.
We know what it is. But
We know what it is.
Yeah,
Okay, if we know what it is, we know what it is.
We know what it
Yeah,
is.
I should have
I work
did
in
that.
journalism. If you know what it is, then it works.
Hey, I love it. Thanks, Kevin.
It sounds good, it works.
It's like journalism. Fake news.
And if you're a musician, that's what it is. If it sounds good, it is good.
It sounds good. It is good.
Yeah.
So you
Okay.
can choose to either start on Ionian or Aeolian. Just let us know.
I'll start on Ionian just to make it easy.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem, Bill.
We're
So,
all friends here.
I'm just doing the downbeats or the
Yeah, just make it easy for yourself. Just the downbeats. Yeah, the first downbeat.
Okay.
Yeah, make it easy for yourself.
Oh,
So
sorry, my bad. It
2, 3, 4.
starts on a 2.
2, 3, 4.
Oh wait.
So they get to 4. Yeah, so you're giving way too many beats for it. It's only
Right.
4 beats. So for example, 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2.
Oh, got you. My bad.
1, 2, 3, 4. Otherwise, yeah, you'll be in that spot for a long time. There's nothing wrong with that, but it will get stale really fast.
4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Give Kevin the first beat. Okay, Ionian still.
4, 1, 2.
Well, we're doing it for this time. But as you can feel instinctually, it's kind of long, right?
Yeah.
Okay, give Kevin the first beat to establish a new chord. Dorian Bill. Okay, give Kevin the first downbeat. Lydia. Close again, that's good, yeah. Okay, give Kevin the first downbeat. Kevin's first downbeat. Whoops. Nice. That's quick, but that's okay.
Oh, my bad.
Phrygian is 3/4, so they're adjacent. So right next to it, half step. Okay, one more time. Ionian. And because this is a longer progression, only 2 loops is fine.
Oh, okay.
Next. Now you're in command of the flavor changes, Kevin. So imagine how nice it would be to play with people that can respond like that. And so you're just on for the ride. Okay? Where are you going next? Oh. Alright, good job. Let's get Bill a chance to be at the helm for that. Great job. Good
Yeah.
job.
It was tough. I kept like picking a chord and then being like, "Fuck, what is it?" Oh, okay.
Yeah.
4, 5,
Yeah, I
5,
know
6.
it's cruel, but the more that you just, because it's related to how the modes are all working, so it's all related.
Right.
And it's just like a lot of other things. You memorize your scales, right? Now it's just Okay, you memorize your quintessential chord progressions, and that allows a jam to be able to go rather than just staying in the same loop, like how we did the 2-5-1 at the beginning. Nothing wrong with that, but if your group is,
Not even that, that's fine.
It's
I
that
know.
itch that's gotta be.
he's got to do letters. Yeah, he has to do letters.
Gotta itch the itch.
FF? Is that a B?
What? Oh no, that's an E. That's an E. That's an E. I'm just
Oh, that's
mad.
an
No, I made it worse. There we
C?
go.
There you go.
Thank you.
A is 2?
No, it's not. A is what?
That's a D?
Hold up.
What's happening?
That's
Yeah.
a D.
That's a D.
Sorry, that looks like an A.
Oh, sorry.
There you go, that's a little
Ah,
better.
that's Yeah.
So this is what's so funny is that other instruments, like, they're
Six is a
married
five.
to their letters, you know, so it's just kind of funny.
6 is a 5.
The 6 is a 5, and there you go.
Yeah, the 1 is like a 19, you know.
Dude, I
Add
can-
4.
I can talk shit. I got the worst chicken scratch in this room, probably.
That was my best footage.
Okay. Hopefully, you know, I'm not cooking you guys too much, and you're kind of seeing what it's like. It's kind of like being a lead guitar, like a lead player, but you're not. You're playing chords. So what's really ironic is that it's the bass player who's literally leading the chord progression. That fundamental note establishes the downbeat, and it's the end all be all. It's kind of like the drummer. If the drummer's timing is too fast or too slow, it doesn't matter. That's the timing of the song. And so it's kind of these like indisputable truths about music, I suppose. All right, Bill, you ready to hop on?
Oh gosh, go easy on me, Bill.
I'll try,
I
man.
was trying to look for you cracking a smile at that Sonic one. I was like, oh dang it, mask, I can't tell if you noticed.
So the irony with Sonic is that it is a linear progression, but it goes 4-3-4-3,
Yeah.
and that's not how I'm training them. I'm training them to do a 4-5-4-5.
Yeah.
So the first melody, that would work,
Yeah.
but then after that it doesn't work. All right,
Something like that.
2, 3, 4. So one loop makes it sound like that loop was a mistake. So yeah, at least twice.
My bad, my bad.
So let's consider this the first loop. One more time. Okay, new idea. Chocobo. Yeah, 4 times is good for these ones. So you're halfway there. Last one. And then a new idea. You can go wherever you like. Not yet. Now, new idea. And you don't have to go to the palette cleanser of Aeolian or Ionian like how I was. That was to help you guys out. So you can go wherever you like. So for these longer progressions, 2 loops is fine. Okay, new idea. watch you play, especially during the changes, the more we know. So instead of responding, just play and then respond afterwards. Right around the changes. So right here, keep playing. Now respond. Mixolydian, G to F. 5 to 4. So it's those transitions that you should keep, like Mario, keep playing. No, it's a little off time, but that's okay. Okay, new idea. Dorian, 2 to 5. Jazz time. 2 to 5. Fred, E minor F. Now here you go again. You say you want your In the desert, you can't remember your name. It feels good to be out of the rain. Tequila, yeah, big as a whale, and it's about to set sail. Hop in my car, it fits about 20. Oh, I'm just sad. Here's my sad song. Alright, good. So I just have the idea to kind of start singing over the top with those progressions just to kind of help. And so you can kind of, once you're able to hear that, anytime you hear those chords, it doesn't matter what genre, doesn't matter what band, you'll go, oh, that's the Horse with No Name progression, or oh, that's the Dreams progression, or oh, that's the Tequila progression, or like whatever it is, and then it's just really easy to understand it and then also produce it. Yeah, and so, you know, we always think, oh, it must be so much fun just to play like lead over the top, and yes, but it kind of reminds me of working in a restaurant. If you don't know how the kitchen works, you're going to be a terrible server. And if the kitchen staff doesn't know how the front of house operations work, they're going to be terrible cooks. So it's understanding both roles and seeing how they work with each other. And so you have to spend some time understudying in each position to kind of really go, Oh, whoa. So the drummer's kick drum, very important. Oh, whoa, so where the bass player plays, very important. Oh, where I play, very important. Okay, that's all just rhythm. Now, chord progression makes me sound a certain way. How do I make that work for me? One is being able to hear it. Two is being able to render it. And that is on both sides of the camp, both as a chord player and both as a melody player. So hopefully you found that kind of insightful. And that is literally, fellas, we just had a conversation in a foreign language. We just did. And every now and then I had to bail you out by saying in English, oh, it's Phrygian or whatever, but we were communicating without any words, and we were on the same page most of the time. That's incredible. That's super cool. At least I think it is. So hopefully I've proven my point with how powerful this can be. So then, when people are just jamming, you can take them in different areas, and if they can respond to it, it's even better. So now what I propose for the last little bit is, yeah, this one's going to be a bit more tough, and I have a bad habit of making the hardest things right at the end, after we've been sufficiently cooked. It reminds me of my Japanese lessons where I'm looking at the clock and I'm like, okay, I got 15 minutes left. Got 15 minutes left. And I'm just like, oh man, I want to be here, but this is tough. I'm getting cooked. So anyway, I've been there a time or two. So what I propose, and this is going to be tough because Sean can't play chords, but we'll just kind of use him as like a skip. But, and I can't play solos, but I'm going to choose not to. Okay, I got it. When Sean's playing solo, I lead the chord progression. Okay?
Alright.
Then we're going to go clockwise. Then you play solo, you lead the chord progression.
Okay.
And then in between, we'll go back to me and Sean. And then you'll play lead and you'll play chord progression.
Okay.
We'll go slow if we mess it up, but the idea is I want the jam to now be an exchange.
Oh.
Okay? Actually, that might be a little intense. How about we just set a timer for like 2 minutes, and one person plays lead, and then after 2 minutes we'll switch. I think switching it too much is going to be just too much chaos.
Sure.
That'd be
Yes.
a pretty cool bass violins.
Yeah, I was like, I could.
Yeah, if you got like a
I
double
could
octave and you start going.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I have an octave pedal to make it sound high. Yeah. On paper, I think, yes. What was I gonna say? So yeah, all right. Let's have Bill be melody, and we all support him.
Oh yeah.
So Bill, before you start playing lead, we have to listen to where Kevin takes us at the beginning.
Okay, and we're still going with these chord progressions, right?
Yes, and still in the key of C, just to not confuse ourselves.
Oh man, this is gonna be nasty.
Probably. 2, 3, 4. Now you can start playing. We're in Ionian. And just noodle around. Don't worry so much about like complimenting it. We're in the key signature of C. Flavor, Kevin. to Lydian. Okay, let's stop there. Good job. So, let me unpack that real quick because there's some good stuff there.
What was that one? 2 or 3 progressions ago? You remember?
That's torture.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Which one?
I don't
But
remember.
what happened on this last, so we just finished this progression and there's a progression before it. That's what's called a weak change. Because you ended the progression on a 5 and then you started the new progression on a 5.
I immediately knew it didn't sound very
It wasn't as good.
No.
Now, as soon as we got out of that measure, as soon as we finished the 4 beats, it was totally fine.
Right.
But when we, because I think you were playing up here and you were going you were playing Ionian, that's right. Right, and then you went. And that happened to be the same exact finishing flavor was your starting flavor. Those are usually awkward transitions, but I think that's because of the gymnastics of you're up here and then you just kind of went, I'm gonna go to this L. So you had like a 1 in 6 chance of landing on the same chord. But I just wanted to unpack that because that's a good learning experience right there. Now again, not the end of the world. As soon as you get out of it, it's like we all forget. So the best thing is just to keep plowing ahead and go, oops, I started on the same chord. Okay, good. Okay, Sean's gonna lead for a little bit. That means I'll be providing the chords. Okay. 2, 3, 4. Okay, let's off on a bad start. No big deal.
What progression we start with those?
We did.
That was it's supposed to be Ionian.
Yeah, yeah. Okay.
I feel like we did next. G. No,
Nope.
my bad. My bad.
Nope, it's supposed to be Ionian.
My bad.
Maybe
And by the way, this is you guys are now like wingers on a soccer team. You should be working with each other. So if you have the progression and your partner is struggling, instead of just doing like a reggae version, which is just a staccato, let the chord breathe through the whole thing. Brang, brang. So at least that harmony helps. Because it is rough to try and figure out what chord it is just from root note alone. Just something to consider. So, and then once you know what it is,
Yeah.
you don't have to only play the backbeat. Like work with each other.
Okay.
And again, our mental juice might be fading. I get that too. All right, let's try again. 2, 3, 4. Because this is interesting. Keep playing. So we should be playing a Lydian progression, but Kevin, you're actually playing a Dorian progression, which is interesting. No, keep doing it. Did you notice how it doesn't sound terrible? Because in a way, you're kind of playing an upper extension of what we're playing. So when you play that 2 chord, it's almost like we're playing a major 7 sharp 11 together. Because they work with each other.
Weird. I didn't meant to do that.
Yeah. So see if you can fix it before we move on. F Lydian. Okay, one more. Phrygian gang. E minor, F, or coming out of it. Nice, you guys are working well with each other right now. We're all over the place. Dorian, D minor to G, D minor, D minor, D minor, D minor to G. Are we coming out of it? So Sean's melody should help you know where we are. What kind of song is this? Sounds pretty sad to me. Aeolian. So that's why it's important to keep playing over the transitions. Because that information helps. Doing great, guys. Fields of Rohan. Lord of the Rings, Two Towers. Alright, that's good. Alright, let's get Kevin on lead. That was 3 chord progressions in a row. Whew.
Oh.
So lead guitar is great because we're just
Okay,
here to,
neutral.
yeah, we're just here to make you sound good. And that's ultimately the end game.
Yeah, for a second I was really confused because for some reason I thought Bill was leading, or someone else was leading the chord change, so I was like, oh fuck, I'm really confused right now.
Yeah, I'm the one leading
I
it.
forgot.
That's
I didn't
okay.
hear the bass. As always, I forget about the basses.
Which, that's why, that's the butt of every rock and roll joke is like the bass player is like the most, usually not the most accomplished musician, it's a generalization, but their job is the most important. It's weird. Okay, so you lead the chord progression this time, and then you try to complement them either whole tones, bad beats, and the 2, like.
It's still every 2 measure change, right?
Except when they do 2 chords. 2 chords is 4 total. So if you're counting measures, the long progressions are 8 measures.
Or it's always 8 measures, 2, 2, 2, or it's 4, 4, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. On the second loop, can you call it out for my awareness?
Sure.
Yeah, just, I want to make sure I'm guessing right.
Okay. So you're leading the charge.
Oh, yeah.
We're just jamming.
We're just jamming.
Oh,
Back to reality. So what do we got here?
3, 4. Aeolian. Phrygian. Wow, that somehow fell together really nice. Obsidian. 4-5. Nice, Kevin. So once you've established it, then you can break off and play a groove. But now you're leading. Downbeat. Little early. Good recovery. Chocobo. Oh, more times. That's okay. Gotta do it another time now. One more time. Phrygian, intense. Mexico. Nicely done. We are out of time. You sounded good, Kevin.
Well, thank you. I don't really understand modes that well, but when it gets sad, I go slower, and then when it gets happier, I go faster. And that's really all I got.
At least there's some dimension to that.
When yeah.
Yeah, at least there's some
There's a
response.
mood.
Yeah.
Right.
That's ultimately all that modes are. It's a different emotion. And the more that you can embody it, whether it's just through feel or through technicality, either way is a solution. Yeah. Great job, guys.
Ooh, that was a hard one.
That's fine.
This was the advanced class.
Yeah. I'm gonna be like, all right, you guys can watch. I'm gonna like show this video to other people to be like, oh, I don't think I'm gonna come.
I don't want to go to that.
Yeah.
No, it's fun. I'm looking at the camera. It's fun. It's a good time.
You can see the smiles under the masks.
Yeah.
Throw 'em there.
Oh.
How's it not having to bring a guitar brand?
It was beautiful.
Beautiful,
Was
right?
it too much of an inconvenience for you?
No, no.
Okay, excellent. Yeah, if we can make that normal.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Oh, I got it. Let's see.